Hey there, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Great to be here.
We're really excited today. We're diving into something truly fascinating, something that, well, flies under the radar in more ways than one.
Okay, definitely.
The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. We've got a fantastic stack of material that one of you sent in articles, a really gripping YouTube breakdown from Mega Builds, even details on that significant incident from Wikipedia.
Yeah, thanks so much for sending that over. It's great stuff.
So our mission today really is to cut through some of the mystique surrounding the B-2.
Absolutely. We want to get to the core of it, its journey, from a Cold War idea to the unique design, how it actually works in the real world, and even what's next for it.
Right, we'll pull out the key insights, hopefully without drowning everyone in, super dense technical jargon.
We'll try our best.
And, that Mega Builds transcript, it just grabs you immediately. It calls the B-2 a whisper, a phantom.
Yeah, very dramatic.
And then, bam, the price tag. $2 billion per plane.
It's staggering, isn't it?
It just makes you instantly think, how can something that big, that substantial, manage to be so hard to see, so unseen?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Right.
Or rather, the $2 billion question.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of what we're going to unpack. We'll also touch on its service history, including that 2008 accident we mentioned, thanks to the Wikipedia info.
And we'll even take a peek at its successor, the B-21 Raider.
And to give us that sort of deeper context, we're pulling from articles by Northrop Grumman themselves and also the national interest.
Right. They offer some really crucial perspectives on the tech and the strategy behind it all. Okay, so where do we start? The beginning seems logical.
Yeah, let's go back. The B-2 didn't just, appear out of thin air. It was a direct response to the Cold War.
Definitely. Both mega builds and the national interest really highlight this.
Hmm.
By the late 70s, Soviet air defenses were getting really good, sophisticated stuff.
Yeah, the old workhorse, the B-52 bomber fleet. I mean, still powerful, but it was becoming vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a quote in the mega builds piece, I think, from an Air Force general.
Oh, yeah.
He said, sending a B-52 into that kind of airspace was like throwing a rock at a hornet's nest while wearing a bright red target.
Wow. Okay, that paints a picture. The risk was just getting too high.
Precisely. These were vital strategic assets.
And it's interesting, the national interest brings up President Carter's role here. He apparently pushed back on the B-1A bomber.
That's right. Deemed it too expensive, actually.
And instead, he authorized development of what they called the Advanced Technology Bomber, the ATB.
Which, of course, became the B-2.
That's a big shift, isn't it? Prioritizing stealth, being undetected, over just raw speed.
A fundamental shift in thinking, yeah. And what's really fascinating is how this super futuristic plane actually has roots way back in early aviation.
You mean the flying wing concept?
Exactly. The Mega Builds transcript talks about Jack Northrop. He was obsessed with the flying wing design for decades.
Right, back in the 1940s. His YB-49. This huge jet-powered thing, 50-meter wingspan.
Immense, just way, way ahead of its time.
Revolutionary, really. But the transcript notes, without modern computer controls.
It was just inherently unstable, couldn't keep it flying reliably.
And the Air Force eventually canceled it, and then kind of dramatically ordered all the prototypes destroyed.
Yeah, scrapped. It really shows that aggressive research and development approach the video mentions, they were willing to take huge risks.
Even if they didn't pan out right away.
Right. But fast forward a few decades.
It's almost like a Phoenix story, like the transcript says. 1978, the Air Force needs a stealthy bomber.
And who wins the ATB contract?
Northrop Corporation. The same company, their earlier work clearly gave them a massive edge.
That flying wing design was key. And it's absolutely central to how the B-2 achieves stealth.
Yeah, the Mega Builds transcript and that Reddit ELI5 thread both explain it, that unique boomerang shape. It's designed to deflect radar signals.
Unlike a normal plane with a body and tail, it's just this one continuous wing shape.
So most of the radar pulse just gets bounced away, right, off in other directions, so it doesn't return to the source radar. Someone on Reddit, an engineer, put it really clearly.
Yeah, it scatters the energy. Now, people sometimes think it's like completely invisible to radar.
Right, like disappearing.
But it's not quite that. As a couple of Reddit users, Lord Daru and Note, point out, the radar signature is just massively reduced.
Down to the size of, what, a small bird, maybe?
Something like that. So small, it might just get dismissed as background noise, or not even register as a threat. It's about blending in, not vanishing.
Okay, so shape is huge. But it's not just the shape.
No, definitely not. The materials are just as critical. The B-2 skin is coated with this stuff called radar-absorbent material, or RAM.
Both Megabuilds and Northrop Grumman talk about this. Highly classified stuff, obviously.
Obviously. And this RAM doesn't just reflect radar energy, it actually absorbs it.
Soaks it up like a sponge for radar waves.
Pretty much, yeah. Instead of bouncing back, the energy gets converted, dissipated as heat usually.
And the construction itself. Megabuilds mentions how smooth it is. Seamless panels.
Utter precision. Because any tiny gap, any sharp edge, could potentially reflect radar.
Like trying to make a perfectly smooth mirror, but for radar waves?
Exactly. And the result of combining that shape and those materials is this drastically reduced radar cross-section, or RCS.
Megabuilds says it's 1,000 times smaller than a B-52's RCS.
Which is just incredible. And note on Reddit clarifies RCS is measured in meter squared. It's the effective area the plane shows to radar.
So the B-2 just looks tiny on a radar screen compared to a conventional bomber.
Tiny. And another point from Reddit, from Nothgul and W.R. Saunders, is about the curves.
Right, no sharp right angles like on a normal plane.
Exactly. Those right angles act like corner reflectors, sending a strong signal right back to the radar source.
But the B-2's curves spread those reflections out, weaken them.
Diffuses the signal, like light from a curved mirror. Makes it much harder to get a solid lock.
Okay, but we mentioned earlier, pure flying wings are unstable. So how does this thing actually fly?
That's where the computers come in. Megabuilds explains it uses an incredibly advanced fly-by-wire system.
So the pilot isn't directly connected to the control surfaces with cables?
Nope. Their inputs go to a computer, a really sophisticated one, and that system makes constant, tiny adjustments. Thousands every second.
Wow, just to keep it stable.
Exactly. It's constantly correcting.
Yeah.
And it's so advanced, it actually lets the B-2 do maneuvers that would be impossible for a normal plane of that size.
That's amazing. A testament to computing power in aviation.
Absolutely. And they didn't just focus on radar stealth. They had to manage other signatures, too, like heat.
Right, the engines. Megabuilds says they're buried deep inside the wing structure.
4 General Electric turbofans. Burying them helps shield the engine inlets and fans from radar detection.
And what about the heat coming out the back? Infrared sensors.
Good point. The exhaust isn't just blasted straight out. It's cooled first, then spread out over a wide, flat area on top of the wings.
Ah, okay. So it dissipates the heat signature, makes it harder for heat-seeking missiles or sensors to lock on. Someone on Reddit, Nodogo, mentioned that too.
It's all about minimizing any detectable trace radar, infrared, even sound to some extent.
Even the basic structure contributes, right? The materials.
Yeah, Megabuilds talks about the extensive use of carbon graphite composites.
Which are strong, lightweight,
And crucially, largely transparent to radar waves.
unlike metal. And assembling these composite parts needs incredible precision too.
Absolutely. The transcript mentions that even tiny misalignments in the panels could mess up the stealth characteristics.
Tolerances smaller than a human hair, kind of thing.
That level of precision, yes. Maintaining that perfect, smooth, radar-evading shape.
So when this thing was finally rolled out in 1988, Megabuilds describes it as just breathtaking technology.
Over 130 onboard computers even back then. It was clearly a whole different ballgame.
And while stealth was the main thing, the national interest reminds us it still packs a serious punch. Conventional weapons.
Oh yeah, a massive 60,000-pound payload capacity. That's a lot of bombs.
Like JDAMs, the precision-guided ones.
Those, yes. And also the massive ordnance penetrator, the MOP.
The bunker buster.
Exactly. Designed for deeply buried, hardened targets. That thing alone weighs around 30,000 pounds.
Half the payload capacity in one bomb.
Pretty much. And it also has that crucial nuclear deterrence role.
Right. The national interest says it's the only U.S. bomber currently certified for nuclear gravity bombs like the B-61 and B-83.
Which is a significant capability. Its range is also remarkable.
6,000 miles unrefueled, according to both the national interest and Megabuilds.
And with mid-air refueling, it basically has global reach, can go anywhere.
Cruising speed around 680 miles per hour, up high at 50,000 feet.
Pretty standard for a strategic bomber, but doing it stealthily is the key.
And the crew is just 2 people.
Yeah, pilot and mission commander,
Right.
managing incredibly complex avionics, mission planning.
Megabuilds mentions they even have celestial navigation as a backup.
A fascinating mix, isn't it? Cutting-edge tech and old-school methods, just in case.
And it has seen action, right, despite the secrecy.
Definitely. The national interest lists Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya.
And it's considered key for potential scenarios involving, say, North Korea's nuclear program.
Right, especially for taking out leadership or those underground facilities with the MOP bombs.
But there's a catch with operating it, isn't there? Something about the bases.
Yeah, the national interest notes that. Because of those delicate radar-absorbent coatings, it needs special climate-controlled hangars.
So it can only operate from a limited number of locations worldwide.
Exactly, a logistical constraint.
Okay, now we should probably talk about the 2008 accident, the one in Guam.
Yeah, the Wikipedia page gives a pretty sobering account of that. The loss of the Spirit of Kansas.
The first operational loss of a B-2.
Tragic event. It crashed right after takeoff. Thankfully, both crew members ejected safely.
That's the main thing. But the plane itself, completely destroyed.
A $1.4 billion loss. At the time, the most expensive aircraft crash ever.
Wow. And the investigation found it was caused by moisture.
Basically, yeah. Wikipedia explains that heavy rain got into some of the air data sensors on the skin.
These tiny sensors flush with the surface.
Right, and that moisture caused 3 key pressure transducers to fail.
So the flight computers were getting bad information.
Exactly. Incorrect data about airspeed and angle of attack. The Wikipedia entry says this meant the plane rotated for takeoff way too slowly.
And then, as soon as the wheels left the ground?
The flight control system switched modes. Based on that faulty data, it thought the angle of attack was too low.
And commanded a massive 30-degree pitch up.
Uncommanded, yeah. Combine that extreme angle with the low airspeed.
An unrecoverable stall.
Just a stark reminder, isn't it? Even the most advanced tech can be vulnerable to simple things like water ingress and how critical accurate sensor data is.
And the entire B-2 fleet was grounded for a while after that.
It was. They had to deploy B-52s to cover missions.
Yeah.
Really highlights how serious it was.
Beyond accidents like that, just the day-to-day upkeep sounds like a huge challenge. That Defense News article really digs into the maintenance.
Oh, absolutely. Especially that low observable coating. The article calls it careful, minute repair work.
Almost an art form, it sounds like. One maintainer in the article said it takes about 2 years to get fully proficient.
Yeah, a steep learning curve. And the tolerances they work with, incredible precision.
Within 1,000th of an inch in places. And the coating itself is made of, what, 225 different materials?
Something like that. Just incredibly complex to keep that stealth capability intact.
And the weather at Whiteman Air Force Base, where they're based, doesn't help.
No, extreme heat in summer, making the aircraft too hot to touch sometimes. And bitter cold in winter, affecting dexterity for those fine repairs. Colonel Seth Graham mentioned that.
Even things like bird strikes require major inspections and potentially complex repairs, according to Staff Strap Batchick in the article.
It just underscores the constant vigilance needed.
And there's that balancing act, too, right? Between keeping planes ready right now and doing upgrades.
Yeah, Brig. John Nichols called it a zero-sum game. Time spent upgrading software or sensors is time the plane isn't immediately available.
A constant challenge. So, looking forward, the B-2 isn't the end of the story.
No, its successor is already well underway, the B-21 Raider.
Both the national interest and Wikipedia touch on this next-gen stealth bomber.
Right. Expected to enter service sometime in the mid-2020s. It uses a similar flying wing design philosophy.
But the goal is to make it smaller, more affordable.
And crucially, much easier and cheaper to maintain than the B-2, hopefully allowing for a larger fleet size.
Wikipedia mentions its plan to eventually replace both the B-1 and the B-2 fleets.
And possibly even the B-52s eventually, way down the line.
As of late 2024, there were apparently 3 B-21s flying in the test program.
That's the report, yeah. Shows it's progressing.
And a low-rate initial production contract was awarded early in 2024.
Signaling it's moving closer to actually being fielded. So, while the B-2 was revolutionary,
its cost and maintenance challenges really paved the way for needing something new, something like the B-21.
definitely.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground on the B-2 Spirit today.
We really have. From its Cold War origins, building on Jack Northrop's visionary flying wing ideas,
To its incredible stealth tech, that unique shape, the special material.
its significant operational roles, both conventional and nuclear, its global reach.
But also the very real challenges. Keeping it flying, keeping it stealthy, that 2008 accident showing the vulnerabilities.
And the demanding maintenance it requires day in, day out.
And finally, looking ahead to the B-21 Raider, set to take over that stealth mantle.
It's been quite a journey.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Given the immense cost, the complexity of this kind of stealth technology, What does that mean for the future of air warfare, for international security as these capabilities keep evolving?
That's a huge question.
Yeah. Or even just thinking about that flying wing story, from the YB-49 failure to the B-2's success and now the B-21. What other seemingly impossible engineering ideas might actually become reality given enough time and technological progress?
Those are definitely big thoughts to ponder. The B-2's story certainly isn't over, even as the B-21 comes online. Its impact will be felt for years.
Well, we really hope this deep dive gave you, our listener, a clearer and maybe more engaging picture of the B-2 Spirit.
Hope you found it interesting.
Yeah, and if you did enjoy this exploration, please do consider liking, subscribing, maybe sharing the deep dive with others.
Your support really helps us grow the channel.
And it lets us keep creating more content like this for you. So thanks again for joining us.